Okay, listen closely. Are you helping your adult child or unknowingly holding them back? That's the million-dollar question today. In this video, I'm going to share 4 dangers of parental enabling that every parent should know, regardless of their age. But before we get started, I want you to know that if you are that mom that is enabling right now and you're knowingly doing it, or you're unknowingly doing it, if you want to stop or you don't think you need to stop, I'm not here to judge you for that. I just want to give you some information to think about so you can make these decisions for yourself and your family. But I want you to listen closely and evaluate what you need to do, because I think it's really important that we think about the effects that it's having on our kids. So I'm going to share these 4 tips with you. And so I want you to document and think about what your part is in each of these, if at all. Okay. Number 1, are you seeing stunted personal growth? If you're enabling, this is something that you're likely going to see over a long period of time. Stunted personal growth in your children. So have you ever thought about how overhelping can actually prevent your child from developing essential life skills? And not to mention resilience, right? Both of those, life skills and resilience. And it can also even keep them from maturing into fully independent adults. And I would have never thought how I could see how enabling could stunt someone's personal growth, but it truly, truly does. I see it all the time in clients and their children. And here's why it prevents them from experiencing necessary challenges, right? It's going to prevent them from experiencing challenges that are necessary for different milestones that provide independence, or that grows us into being independent as a human. So number 2, financial dependence. So financially enabling, where that's going to cause them to fail to learn self-sufficiency, where they're relying continuously on you or another parent. So I completely know how this gets started. And if this is you, you know as well, right? It starts out with typically trying to give them more than you had growing up. You don't want to see them suffer. You don't want to see them have any negative consequences. So you try to protect them and bail them out. But all we're doing in those cases is harming them. We're harming their growth in that area. And what happens is it leads to that lack of motivation for them to achieve their own desire to even make their own finances, right? To even get a job, because they know you're going to provide. And again, this is not judgment. This is just education. I want you to think about if this is you. For example, let's say that you are regularly paying their bills. They're not going to develop the skills or the drive to manage their own finances. They're not going to know how to do it, and they're not going to see a need that they need to learn because you're doing it for them. So I've worked with a lot of moms who have done this before, and before you get too upset or feel like there's no hope, I want you to know there is, I promise. We just have to make a game plan, right? This isn't about cut them off, kick them out, and they're out on their own end of tomorrow. Like, that's not how this works. Unless there's harm, obviously, right? If there's harm being done to you or in your home, that's different. But we're just talking about how mom is trying to stop enabling. Okay, so how many of you have had financial hardships in your life? I know I have. And those are the moments that have taught me more than anything else. Those hard times taught me how to manage money, along with Dave Ramsey, right? For those of you that know who he is. For those of you that are looking, you're like, oh my gosh, this is me. I'm enabling and I want to stop and I don't know how, but I want what's best for my child. So if that's you, there's a link to a discovery call below. That is when you are ready for help. This isn't just for you and I to talk about, the whole situation, but this is when you're like, I can't do this by myself anymore. I need help. I need someone to guide me on this path. Okay. Would love to talk with you about that and the possibilities of working together. Number 3 is lack of responsibility. This is a big one because this just covers so many areas in life. but it is stopping them from consequences of their actions, right? And so it will lead to a lack of accountability that will affect them personally and professionally. And let's be honest, there are consequences in this world, not just from us as parents or their boss, consequences at work, but we have consequences with the law as well. So if there's any drugs involved or, other illegal behaviors or anything like that, there are consequences that need to happen. We need to feel the consequences of our actions. That's how we want to change. So enabling can also kind of diminish their sense of personal responsibility, where they don't actually learn to take accountability for their own actions, like I said. So, for example, as a parent who always cleans up their child's mistakes, maybe it's paying off their debt, maybe it's, coming to their rescue every time there's an issue, that is going to teach them that consequences will always be managed by someone else. So in other words, if it's not going to be you, it'll be someone else in their world that will take care of things for them. But they don't have to have any skin in the game, and so they're not going to grow in that area at all. And number 4, I know all of you who are enabling are experiencing this. Or if you've only been doing it for a short time, you will experience this if you continue down that path. And that is strained personal relationships, parental relationships, Enabling can also lead to resentment on both parties over time, right? And the frustration on the part of the parent and the dependency on the part of the child. So there you have a strained relationship. Resentment on one side and no accountability on the other. So you start out trying to help, and I know most of you did it out of love. Maybe you have, an excess of funds and it didn't harm you, it didn't hurt your budget. For a lot of you, it is hurting your budget. There's a financial hardship, but you're still doing it. So I want you to reevaluate that. But you know what? Now you know. Maybe this is the first time you've heard something like this. So now you know what changes need to be had. And a lot of times the parent can end up feeling unappreciated, taken advantage of, and in the long run, while your son or daughter comes to expect it, that continual support will just be there, and then there's no appreciation for it, which it's just that vicious cycle, and then here comes the resentment. So those are my 4 tips for you today. If that is you, I want you to, like I said, you can click the discovery call link above and schedule a call when you're ready for looking for opportunity to be involved in coaching. You need to have somebody, whether it's a financial person in your world that could maybe help train your son or daughter. It's probably not going to be you, but maybe that is someone that could help them, and you could offer to pay for that. That I do recommend that often with my clients, and many times it has worked, especially if there's not an excess of funds, right? Like, hey, I need to start focusing on my retirement. I can't continue to do this. And that is a really good way to start off. But if you need help beyond that, I look forward to talking to you in the discovery call, and I'll see you in the next video. God bless.